Welcome back to the Foreign Report, your weekly foreign policy show that gives you the gory details of geopolitics with hopefully some laughs along the way. I'm Sina Ghaznavi, your foreign policy curious host, with our guest host, Travis Irvine, Columbia Journalism School grad. You better believe it. And one thing I want to let everyone know about, first, our email. Send us a question. Send us whatever you want. We're going to just, send us nice things. You can send us nice words. Those are nice. Send us a voicemail with a question, theforeignreportlpn@gmail.com. I also want to make an announcement. Travis, are you ready?
Oh, yes. Hold on. Let me put on my announcement glasses.
We have been named the #1 geopolitical show of the Manosphere.
Woo! Yes.
You know how we got that?
That's what I'm talking about.
You know how we got that?
We made
biceps.
it up?
Listen, I've been hearing a lot about this Manosphere thing, and I was like, why aren't we the Manosphere geopolitical show? We're man, we live on a sphere, and we are so magical. So manospheres. That's us.
We're very manly. Yeah, it's illegal for me to bring these things on planes. TSA is always trying to take away my rights.
I'm so tired, Travis. It's spring break. To all the parents out there, God help you if your kid's on spring break. This is a crazy week right now.
Yes. At least there's not a constitutional crisis or anything.
Well, that's
while you're trying to raise your children to be good citizens.
You're like, well, what? And I've been sober all week, by the way. Stone cold sober this entire week. I don't know why. I think I've been so tired and busy. I haven't even thought about doing anything.
Yeah, you don't have time.
No time. Another announcement, somewhat cooler than all the things we just said.
Manosphere is pretty cool.
We are number one geopolitical Manosphere podcast. That is us. We're moving to a new. Do you think any of the people in the Manosphere say Manosphere? Is that a mistake? Should I not have done that?
I don't know.
Should we not?
I'm not part of the Manosphere.
No, we are.
We are.
Shh, Travis.
Well, we are.
God, yeah.
That's how you know, because we don't think we are.
Yeah.
That means we are.
We are. Okay. This is how we get the numbers up. Okay. Mm-hmm. We are the #1 show at the Last Podcast Network. Anyways, we are moving. Speaking of being the #1 show, they're kicking us off the Last Podcast on the Left YouTube channel. They're not kicking us off. It's people are very confused sometimes when they go on Last Podcast on the Left YouTube and they don't see Henry or Marcus or Eddie. They see us. Oh. And there's been comments that are like, hey guys, like what's going on with the show? And it's very funny. Like we put Foreign Report in the title. Anyways, we are going, because we have a little bit of a different audience, we're moving to a new YouTube channel. So in the episode description of both the podcast and this YouTube, you will see a link to our new channel. We're going to start posting new episodes next week. So right now, head on over there, subscribe so you get notified when new episodes drop, full episodes. Maybe we'll start doing some live streams over there. I've already started posting some community notes and some questions and some polls. So why don't you head over there and check it out. I'm so excited. Listen, this Manosphere is going to be a community. It is going to be a Manosphere community, okay? Yes. We're going to do a lot of iron pumping and a lot of geopolitical gabbing.
Yes, everyone is welcome in the Manosphere.
We are an inclusive Manosphere podcast.
I'm getting on an alert. We are the #1 most inclusive geopolitical podcast in the Manosphere. Just been determined. Breaking news, Walter Cronkite in my headphones right now.
There we go. Thank God. Well, as you mentioned, Travis, happy constitutional crisis. We are here. We made it. It was a Liberation Day not too long ago. That was really a great celebration, liberating from the color green. That was nice.
Yes. Economic crisis. What else? How many more crises can we add on here?
Don't underestimate it. Don't underestimate, because we got plenty.
Oh, good.
There's plenty to go. I didn't realize, like everything else in these days, a constitutional crisis is not a binary. It's a spectrum. And we could go deeper into it as we go here. For those of you that don't know, Kilmar Abrego Garcia is still not back in the United States. I don't know if you've out there have not been following the story. If you haven't or you haven't heard about it, that means you're probably doing something really wonderful with your life, like hugging a loved one or eating ice cream or like watching a wonderful movie that I don't watch. Gardening.
Anything.
Oh,
hiking,
fantastic.
biking, get outdoors.
Yeah, anything. But we're going to go over that in the top of the show here. Then we're also going to talk about these recent Iran nuclear talks in Oman. And then, of course, we've got the J.D. Vance corner with Travis Irvine and some other news stories. I can't wait for it.
It's a doozy this week, I'll tell you.
It's amazing that it's every week you have like new, fresh,
right.
Not even like B material or C material.
Yeah.
You've got grade A J.D. Vance gaffes and hate every week.
It's nonstop. And when you think he can't drop the ball anymore, he literally drops something even bigger.
Drops a trophy. So a U.S. District Court and the U.S. Supreme Court have both said the Trump administration needs to facilitate Abrego Garcia getting back to the United States. Now, the Trump administration has said that the word, quote, facilitate only means that they will let him come back if he gets out of the terrorism detention facility that they shipped him to.
So he's going to escape from a prison in a foreign land.
Yes.
To come back.
Yes. Escape from El Salvador. It's a sequel to Escape from New York and Escape from L.A., Escape from El Salvador.
Yes. Yeah, he's like Kurt Russell. That's great. He'll be fine.
Yeah. Dios mío. So President Bukele of El Salvador said that they would need to, in the Oval Office meeting, he said if they wanted to bring him back, it would mean that they would be smuggling a terrorist back into the United States.
Oh, well, I guess he can't do that.
He can't do that? Of course you can't smuggle a terrorist. Oh, President Bukele, your hands are tied. Turns out, though, the United States is paying El Salvador to house Garcia in the, again, terrorism detention facility. That's what's happening there. You know, and I was thinking, like, what is this like? What is this like? Okay, we will facilitate. We just won't help you get out. But you can get out. As long as you can get out, we won't stop you. And I was reminded of everyone's favorite, absolutely terrible movie, Aladdin. And that's like Aladdin telling the genie that, hey, genie, I'll facilitate your release from the lamp, except I'll never rub the lamp. And the lamp is also filled with other genies that were forcibly removed from their respective homes and trapped inside the lamp as well. And and don't forget, people are coming from other countries to take pictures in front of the lamp to say, oh, cool, look at all the genies in this lamp. Isn't that cool? Double thumbs up.
Lots of genies in there.
F you, Aladdin. By the way, not a single hair on that animated Aladdin, by the way. Not a single one.
Right. I imagine this is how you explain this very complex foreign policy issue to your children. That's how you came up with this week. It's spring break. You're watching Disney Plus and you're watching Aladdin. You know, kids, this genie, it's a lot like all the accused terrorist gang members. I still don't understand why they put this poor man in his position in the first place.
Well, let's talk about it. Let's talk about what actually happened. And if you haven't been following it, I mean, God, geez, we're going to go a little bit back in time, and then we'll bring you to where we're at now. So Abrego Garcia came to America, long trip here in, I think, 2012. And in March of 2019, Garcia was detained with 3 other individuals as they were, quote, loitering outside of a Home Depot. I saw a tweet from some right-wing guy that was like, Garcia was hanging out with his friends outside the Home Depot. I don't know about you, not the coolest place to hang out. I don't know many successful gang members that are in the upper echelons of MS-13 that are hanging out at Home Depot, right? I don't know if that's necessarily the place to cut it up with your friends. I don't know. The Home Depot I go to has like 5 guys out there looking for work to lay mulch in your raised garden bed.
Yes.
Okay. And then there's like another lady that's down the parking lot selling watermelons and another person selling like a fruit stand. And they're like right next to each other. No one's hanging out. If they could not be at the Home Depot, I think they would not be at the Home Depot.
Right. They'd probably rather be doing other things, but they're good, honest, hardworking people who just want to get some work. And that's usually how that works.
And so at this time, he's got a fiance who he's about to start taking care of her 2 kids. But the Trump administration in 2019 starts deportation proceedings. Now, that phrase is super important. Deportation proceedings. That means a process, a procedure is now happening. A due process of procedure. Yes,
and
Fred.
you said 2019, which was the first Trump administration. So it's almost like there's a vendetta against this particular man.
It truly is. And they go through the process now. There's all kinds of steps everyone knows. It's not like Law and Order where it all happens in the second half of the show where it's like 30 minutes. There's all these different steps that happen. And his lawyer was trying to get him out on bond. He's denied bond. And in that bond hearing, they present evidence, right? And one thing to keep in mind for people, an immigration court is a little different than a criminal or civil court. Immigration court is part of the executive branch, part of the immigration, right? Part of DHS and ICE and all that stuff. So like that is more of an administrative court. So if there's a removal procedure, it's a lot of paperwork. And I've reached out to some of my immigration law friends from law school, and they were helping me kind of understand a little bit more of the process here. So much paperwork happens when it comes to immigration, right? So they got to track people and really figure out how they're going to go from point A to point B, and if they're going to get removed, or if they're going to get granted asylum, or if there's going to be a withholding order on them where they don't get deported. It's all paperwork, right? They also, in an immigration court, they don't get provided an attorney that's paid for by the government. So that's like a little bit different of a thing. Most people do have lawyers, though, when they go into it, right? But in this case, it's a pretty informal thing. That's the immigration court. DHS brings evidence from a, quote, trusted informant, a confidential informant, that says this guy, Abrego Garcia, is like an upper echelon, MS-13. They gave him his rank and the Western clique or whatever. And then the officer says, this guy's got a bull's hat on and a hoodie with rolls of money covering the eyes, ears, and mouth of the presidents on separate denominations. This, apparently, is gangware. Notice to everyone in Chicago, don't wear your bull's hat because you're in MS-13 now.
No, wait a minute. Oh, that's the biggest basketball team in Chicago.
No.
Just trying to fit in.
Not anymore. Not anymore. It's the biggest basketball team for MS-13 is what it is.
It's cold. I want to wear the hoodie because it's Chicago and it's cold all the time.
Not
and
if
then
you're...
you got a Bulls hat because it's the big basketball team. I'm just trying to fit in around here.
I mean, it sounds like you want to get deported. Or not even deported. You want to get renditioned. That's the other thing here that we should talk about. Is that this is not... When they took this man and threw him on a shipping thing and sent him to El Salvador, that's not a deportation. And that's why I was saying a deportation proceeding is a very specific thing. This is more like when we did extraordinary renditions. This is a rendition. We kidnapped this man, and I say we because when the federal government does something, we do it.
Right. We're paying for it. That's
We're
our tax
paying
dollars.
for it. It is representation of us, right? And so they said that this apparel was gangware. And, they denied him the bond and the proceeding kept going. And then Garcia says, hey, not only am I not MS-13, if I go back to El Salvador, I may get killed. And so the immigration court in 2019 said, okay, we're not going to deport him. There's a, quote, clear probability of future persecution, and, quote, that he demonstrated that El Salvador's authorities were and would be unable or unwilling to protect him. So in 2019, same year, Garcia is given a withholding from removal order. That means the only place you can really deport someone, right, is back to where they came from, okay? So the only place he could go is back to El Salvador. So when they say withholding from removal, that means you can't go back to where you came from because you could be killed and you're going to stay here. But what they do, though, is they do checks. And so they're either going to, keep you detained, right? Or they're going to let you out and work. But if they let you out and work, Travis, they probably need to do some sort of investigation, right?
I don't know. Or you go back to the Home Depot in your Bulls hat.
Well, you better start wearing, I don't know, some other team's hat, like
Celtics?
a Knicks.
He's wearing a Celtics hat. He's going to get his ass kicked for other reasons.
That's
it's
the
Chicago.
IRA. That's an IRA. That's an actual terrorist.
Right.
Yeah, that's a totally different way to get your ass kicked. Here's the thing that I when I talked to my immigration lawyer friend, when the judge gives you a withholding from removal order and you are released back into the public, it's because DHS, Trump's DHS in 2019, literally does an investigation and a deep background check on you and says, this guy's okay. He's allowed to go back into the public. He's allowed to go back to his wife, his 2 kids, now 3 kids, one with disabilities. He's allowed to keep working. He's allowed to go and provide. He's allowed to pay taxes, which he did. Allowed to do these things. And so March 15th, 2025, trigger-happy ICE picks this guy up and renditions him to El Salvador. And again, this is not a deportation. This is a rendition. And they kidnapped this man without a warrant, and they sent him to a terrorist confinement facility.
Hold on. So this guy, 2019, this all starts. His nightmare starts.
Yeah.
And he passes then. He says, hey, I'm not what you're saying I am. He gets actual judicial proceedings. Yes, it's in the executive branch, like you said. It's a special court, immigration court. But he's found to be in the clear. And then you're telling me 6 years later, after we had another president, and then the old president becomes the new president again, this guy's in not just the same situation, but he's not even getting the same rights that he had in 2019?
No due process. And one of the things and I'm glad you brought that up, because if you have a withholding from removal order, if that's challenged, you have to have a trial. So if you're going to challenge the removal, right, and they're going to actually remove you, that goes to federal court. Now, this got up to the Supreme Court. As everyone's known, it's 9-0. The Supreme Court said, hey, you got to facilitate. And I just want to show a couple quotes from the Supreme Court opinion here that are really important. And yes, did Big Papa, captain of the Manosphere of geopolitics, make slides for this episode? You better believe it. So check out the YouTube and check out the slides I made.
Hey, it may be spring break, but somebody's doing his homework.
So in the case Christie cosplaying Secretary of Homeland Security Gnome, God, the number of outfits, that's fucking a nightmare hellscape of a person. This is from the opinion, and I'm quoting here. Federal law governing detention and removal of immigrants continues, of course, to be binding as well. See, United States Code 1226, requiring a warrant before a non-citizen may be arrested and detained pending a decision on removal. Okay, so you got to have a warrant for his arrest, okay? And then in order to revoke conditional release, that's revoking the withholding order, the government must provide adequate notice and promptly arrange an initial informal interview to afford the alien an opportunity to respond to the reasons for the revocation stated in the notification. So that means you got to give notice. Look at all these due process things. Yeah. Look at all these things. And here's another little tidbit that I think is really instructive, because you may think, but it's the executive branch. They can do whatever they want, whatever. Further, moreover, it has been the government's own well-established policy of ICE to, quote, facilitate an alien's return to the United States if the alien's presence is necessary for continued administrative removal proceedings. In cases where a non-citizen has been removed pending immigration proceedings, this is the custom enforcement directives, they have to bring the person back to the United States to go through the due process that we have. So that is insane. That's what the Supreme Court said. It's back down now to the district court again to make another ruling. Again, the Trump administration is saying, hey, we'll let him back. We just won't rub the lamp. He can get out as long as he Kurt Russells himself out. Now, my friend also sent me a clip from a little segment from the circuit court. So it went to the district court, then it goes to the circuit court, then it goes to the Supreme Court, right? And so here's a little thing, and this isn't a tweet. This is the literal circuit court opinion about Abrego Garcia. And it said, the United States government has no legal authority to snatch a person who is lawfully present in the United States off the street and remove him from the country without due process.
Wow.
The government's contention otherwise, and its argument that the federal courts are powerless to intervene, are unconscionable.
Wow. And this brings it full circle, Cena.
Yeah.
Because this man is being denied his constitutional rights. Hence, why you're calling this a constitutional crisis. Because if this can happen to this guy in our country, you're probably telling me it can happen to anybody.
Already, I just read this morning that there was a United States citizen who was misidentified, and they're been detained by ICE right now. There is another story about a person who had a tattoo of his autistic in support of autism. And let's bring up the story here. His name is Neri Jose Alvarado Borges. Sorry if I mispronounced this. He's one of the men deported on March 15th to El Salvador, and he was singled out and picked up by immigration authorities because of a tattoo they claimed was gang affiliated. Family and friends of Borges said the tattoo in question, a rainbow. Look at this tattoo! You guys, if you're on the pod, go see the YouTube video. Adam is cracking up back here. You cannot, anything, you have to laugh. This is insane. If you are either laughing, if you're not laughing, you're probably crying. A rainbow ribbon alongside the name of his autistic brother. It's an autism awareness tattoo, and some Neanderthal ICE official or ICE authority said this was a gang tattoo.
That's crazy. I'm not laughing or crying. I am shaking my head in disbelief.
Look at this tattoo. It is the sweetest, cutest tattoo you could possibly imagine. Also, I have a tattoo. That shading is painful. It's a lot of shading.
Right. Very color-coded.
And you got to get that color touched up every few years.
So this is where we're at in America. Don't wear a Bulls hat. Don't get an autism awareness tattoo, and you'll be fine.
And so I think as of yesterday, so here we are, April 17th, Thursday. This was, there's an article from the Associated Press. Basically, the judge in this case, a district court judge, is saying, I'm going to bring contempt charges against the Trump administration. If this criminal contempt charges, which means he could start an investigation into who made this decision to not bring this guy back, to not facilitate his return, and they could put someone in jail for this. This is guys, due process is the ball game.
Oof.
So there's going to be, when I say spectrum of a constitutional crisis, we've entered it once they said, once they denied the court's order and like they shipped all these guys over there. Once you're in the constitutional crisis. How deep you go in, we're getting way deeper because United States citizens are affected, right? And it also made me think about other things that we don't necessarily talk enough about. I understand that a lot of conservatives will say things like, but do you want terrorists and gang members in our country? Do you want child trafficking and sex trafficking? Do you want all these murders to happen outside of your... Oh, this is an absurd thing to say. Of course not. We don't want these things. But it's the solution that ends up being the problem, right? And so if the solution is we just start sweeping everyone up and renditioning them to offshore detention facilities, we're going to make a mistake. And that was admitted by the administration because they went against this withholding of removal order. And so it makes me even think of the death penalty, right?
Right.
Because when we kill someone as a country, right, through the death penalty, we do that, right? And you may say, oh, but what are these vicious murderers? I look at anything that the last podcast on the left covers. A lot of those people, would presumably get the death penalty, right? But my problem with the death penalty is it's not perfect. You're not going to always kill the monster. You're going to accidentally kill an innocent person. So when you accidentally kill an innocent person, that means we all pay and sign off on that innocent person being killed.
Right. The Innocence Project. That's a great organization that finds a lot of these folks are wrongfully charged and they're sitting on death row for decades and decades, losing years of their life, and they didn't even commit the crime.
And this whole thing, if you didn't do anything wrong, nothing wrong is going to happen to you. this guy got a tattoo for his autistic brother. He got a fucking rainbow tattoo, a rainbow ribbon tattoo. This is insane. And I have been waiting a long time to say we're in a constitutional crisis. We had Professor Corey Brett Schneider on, and he was saying we're already in it. And I was like, okay, I let him say his piece. I didn't think at that time we were in it. I wanted to wait till we were in it. And when the Trump administration flies in the face of a Supreme Court order, then you are in a constitutional crisis. People also DM me on Instagram and stuff. I appreciate that. At Cena Now, at the Foreign Report, Foreign Report Show. I don't even know our socials. Jesus. I think we should just put them up or something. I don't know. But they asked me, like, what's your take? What are we supposed to do? What's your perspective on this? And I'm interested to hear what you think as well, Travis, because my thought is, like, we're such a young country that maybe we do need to go through a bit of light fascism to cleanse the soul of this country. I was telling my wife the other night, if we can make it through these 4 years and this country's still together, we could do anything.
That's true.
It didn't turn her on, though. It didn't really get her in the mood for anything.
Well, it's spring break. The kids are home all
What do you
the
think?
day. I mean, it seems like it's a slippery slope, right? Isn't that the constitutional crisis? It's like a mountain that then it's like covered in oil. And then once it starts to tilt, then it is really, you are on the downslide, literally. And I saw similar tweets and posts from our friends at the Good Liars. And they were noting that checks and balances, that was the whole idea. There's got to be a check. There's got to be a balance. And you keep the checks and balances on your seesaw there to keep from one side from sliding down into some type of crisis like we are headed towards right now. So you're absolutely right. I mean, these are constitutional rights that were enshrined in the Bill of Rights in the U.S. Constitution. For all the hemming and hawing we hear from the people on the right about our founding fathers.
Oh, they don't give a shit.
I think they are fucking
They would call them like
missing the point.
Woke mind virus for those founding fathers.
Those Benjamin Franklin had chlamydia and it affected his woke mind. He wanted rights for James Madison wanted rights for everyone. Due process. John Adams actually defending the British soldiers because he thought everyone should be allowed to have a lawyer no matter what they're charged with. Monsters. Woke DEI monsters.
Oh, yeah.
I will just take this. I want to take this moment to let Christy know that I am a Cavs fan. Cleveland Cavs, number one seed in the East.
Oh, yeah.
Won't be finding me in a Bulls hat.
I ordered 12 Bulls hats.
Oh, good. For all your friends?
All my friends, we're all going to just start walking around with Bulls hats.
Go down to the Home Depot and just start giving them out.
Oh, my God.
It'll be a fun prank.
Folks, due process is the ball game. I always thought the plumbing of our democracy was the one thing that worked really well. We're going to see how well it works over the next couple weeks. So we'll see how the contempt hearing goes. They're going to be at this district court. They're going to go probably back to the Supreme Court at some point, and then we'll see again if there's another 9-0 decision. So this is the Foreign Report, number one geopolitical podcast of the Manosphere. I'm Sina Ghaznavi, Travis Irvine and his biceps.
Go Bulls!
Go Bulls. We'll be right back after this. Welcome back to the Foreign Report. I'm Sina Ghaznavi, Travis Irvine. We are here doing our best.
We're doing our best out here, folks.
I wanted to talk about a romantic comedy called The Iranian Nuclear Deal.
Oh, yeah. Is that the sequel to Aladdin?
Yeah, it is. Fuck
yeah.
Aladdin. I hate that guy so much.
Come on. He can show you the world.
Oh, my God. Set my people back another 500 years.
You got it.
And now all the Iranians going to be like, he's Arab. He's not Persian. I'm like, no one cares. They all lump us in. Okay. Right. You think that when kids were calling me Aladdin growing up, you think they were like, oh, but no, we should call him something more Persian specific. No.
Right. Oh, please. Well, at least they didn't call you Jafar.
That's true. I never got a Jafar.
That guy's evil.
You know what, Travis? That's That's fantastic. I never thought about the silver lining about that.
I'm telling you, Pittsburgh could have been a Jafar easily.
Could have easily been a Jafar.
It wasn't too Jafar off. Thank you.
All right, here we go. Here we go. Here we go. So we just talked about Abrego Garcia. Man, lots to talk about there, but a lot of interesting stuff happening when it comes to Iran, the Islamic Republic of Iran, and these nuclear talks that are now happening again. And so just last week, the U.S. and Iran were at a hotel with the Omanis, and these Omani negotiators were running back and forth playing a very tense game of telephone.
I have one question.
Yes.
A, yes. Were there telephones in the rooms? B, did they have free HBO and Wi-Fi? And
Yes.
3, was there a pool?
Yeah, I think only for the Iranians there was a pool. I don't think Steve Witkoff, the emissary from the United States, does anything outside of a suit. I don't think he wears any other clothes outside of his suit. So,
well, hopefully there are no immigrants there, because I also know that hotels have ice machines. So
that's true. Look out!
Look out!
These negotiations are very tense, and this is the first thing that happened. And one thing that is kind of incredible here is that normally to even have a meeting like this, there'd be a ton of back and forth, a ton of letters being sent back and forth, a lot of setup and stuff like that. But Trump, being the wild card that he is, was like, you gotta talk about these nukes, or we're gonna bomb you, or Israel's gonna bomb you, as we talked about last week, which was who needs signal when you got Donald Trump. But I wanted to kind of compare, because during Trump's first term, he tore up the JCPOA, the Joint Comprehensive Protection of whatever the hell thing. And
it was the Obama deal that they made with Iran. John Kerry negotiated it on behalf of the U.S., but there was tons of countries involved with forming this deal.
Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, the JCPOA, the Iran deal 1.0. And it initially was a very technical agreement that favored U.S. interests, okay? And so I want to go over what that was like then, what Iran was going through then, and where they're at now. And so there was a lot happening. Let me bring up this. Okay, more slides. Iran and the nukes. So in the Iran deal, there was enrichment levels, okay? You always hear about these enrichment. How far is the Islamic Republic of Iran away from, like, the enrichment levels that they need to make enough material to make a bomb? In 2015, the JCPOA agreement set their limit at 3.67%, which is what you need for civilian use. They had some at 20%, but really it was 3.67%, which is a very specific number, right?
Yeah.
In 2025, right now, they're at 60%.
Whoa, that's more. That's more than 3.67. Even I know that.
And you need 90% for a bomb. And there's a lot of talk, how far away are they from that? So they're, we'll get to that in a second. And so that's one thing. And also Steve Witkoff just recently said, we would like the Iranians to be back to 3.67%. So I don't know. If I was Steve Witkoff, I would probably have made up a different number instead of using the exact number that Obama got done. Anyways.
Right.
Then there's the centrifuge. That was the other piece of the JCPOA, is that Iran had all these centrifuges. And the centrifuge, for those that don't know, is it spins the uranium, and the lesser enriched uranium goes to the outside of the centrifuge, and the more enriched stuff goes to the center, and that's what they use to make the weapon material. That's like the really good stuff. That's the good stuff.
Yum.
And so the fancier your centrifuge is, the more efficient you're able to pull out that enriched uranium. And if you remember Stuxnet, that was the U.S. and Israel intel operation that then sabotaged the centrifuges. They made them spin at different speeds. And then they just threw all these USBs everywhere. And then one of these guys plugged a USB in at the facility, and then it infected the entire nuclear facility with the Stuxnet virus. And then that's what they didn't even know what was happening. These centrifuges were spinning all different and breaking and stuff like that, and they had to go replace them with these really bad ones. And they had 9,000 of these IR-1s, which are these really basic centrifuges. That was in 2015. Now, since they were agreeing to say, okay, we'll just keep it at these basic ones because you just need those for civilian use. Mm-hmm. Now in 2025, they've got basically like the iPhone 14, 15, 16, and 17 or whatever the hell number we're at. They got the IR2, the IR4, the 6, and the 8 advanced centrifuges, which makes it much more efficient and easier to enrich uranium to get the material to make a bomb.
Wow.
Okay? Right? Here we go. This is what happens when he tore up the deal. Breakout time. This is a really important thing. So this means how much time it takes to build enough material to actually make a bomb, right? And so that's just the amount of fuel that you need to make the bomb. So in 2015, they were about a year to make one bomb. Now, they're about a week, if not maybe a couple months. I've read a lot of conflicting reports about this. They're about a week or a couple months away from being able to make multiple crude bombs. Enough material for that. Okay, so that's 25 kilograms to make one crude bomb of 90% enriched uranium, which I looked up how much is 25 kilograms. It's like the size of a like a terrier, like a medium-sized terrier. And so that's how much you need to make, that's how much enriched uranium you need to make a bomb.
A crude bomb.
A crude bomb. And so one thing to think about is that we say bomb, but that's just the nuclear material. You do have to turn it into a metal. You have to turn it into get it into a device that then gets delivered. It's a trigger, all these things. And so that could take months, if not closer to a year to make, right? Here's the thing, though. Right now, the Islamic Republic of Iran could go on North Korea's Amazon.com and buy their own trigger. They could buy their own thing.
What?
And so, yes. And so this is the other thing to keep in mind is that the amount of time it takes for them to actually weaponize this could range dramatically depending on if they do it themselves or if they buy it from someplace else. Another thing that I learned about this is that how does everyone know that they're at 60% enriched uranium? It's because you can actually measure this stuff. It has like a marker that you can see from space, all these things. And you've got intelligence on the ground, everything. So there are ways to know. And that's why they haven't just gone ahead and done this, presumably, because they know if they do it, then that would mean Israel would just go and bomb or someone else. Like the whole world would just be like, whoa, whoa. So they're inching closer and closer to this as a means of potentially getting people to come to the table, to maybe push the conversation forward. And so this is where we're at right now. There were a bunch of other stuff in the JCPOA that we don't need to go over really right here, but there's so much that we lost from when Trump decided to remove himself from the JCPOA. And I think one thing that I want to say as an Iranian American is that it never had to do anything with human rights. And that sucked. As a person that can't go back to their ancestral country, I can't take my kids there because of fear of being disappeared. And Iran is like one of the worst human rights abusers in the world. They just kidnapped and tortured this Iranian rapper. They literally shoving metal in this guy's face. They were doing all of these terrible things to him, and then they eventually released him, and he was just doing an interview about it. I mean, it's breathtaking the amount of torture that they do to their own people. And so now we're at this point where it's like, okay, we're going to have to make another deal that is just about the nukes.
Right.
How is this all sitting with you?
All right. I got a lot of questions.
Okay.
Travis Irvine, dumb American here. You are telling me that with the Obama deal, which Trump famously called a terrible deal, it's a terrible deal. We got everything that we wanted, except for, like you just said, the human rights violations.
And how they were funding their proxies and stuff like that. Yeah.
Right. But in terms of nuclear deal, we had them where we wanted them, where they were able to enrich enough uranium, like you said, for civilian uses, for nuclear power, things like that. We had
and they got sanction relief. Yeah.
Right. And we had that 3.67%. We basically had them right where the international community preferred them to be. And Iran their leadership was relatively, again, not completely in the right, but they were happy because of sanctions being lifted and things like that. And then Trump goes in and he kills the deal. He rips it up. He says, terrible deal. And now, because he did that, they're doing the exact thing that the international community didn't want them to do, and that is create enough uranium over these years that they're at a point where they could have a crude bomb within, I think you said, checking my watch here, a week.
They could have enough material potentially within a couple weeks
to
crazy. Then weaponize it into a bomb.
So is this not exactly what we see from Trump all the time, right? There's no problem. He then creates the problem. And now it appears that what you're saying, according to Steve Witkoff, who is known for his foreign relations experience, I'm sure, not from real estate or anything like that, you're telling me that they're trying to basically get Iran back exactly to the 3.67%, exactly where they were 10 years ago.
It's exactly right. And there's a little bit more context that we'll get into, but you brought up Steve Witkoff, special emissary or whatever, envoy to the Middle East. He tweeted this thing on tax day on the 15th, I think that's a Tuesday, right?
Yes.
He said, quote, "A deal with Iran will only be completed if it is a Trump deal. Any final arrangement must set a framework for peace, stability, and prosperity in the Middle East, meaning that Iran must stop and eliminate its nuclear enrichment and weaponization program. It is imperative for the world that we create a tough, fair deal that will endure, and that is what President Trump has asked me to do."
But we already did that.
Well, we already did that, but
But it wasn't a Trump deal.
It wasn't a Trump deal.
I see. So do the same deal, put Trump's stupid gold name on it like a hotel, and we're good.
This is where I was, right? I was like, is this just the same thing? But if you look at this tweet a little bit more, you'll notice that first he's obviously doing all this stuff about it's Trump, it's not Biden, so you're trying to take a dump on Biden. And then the thing that we should all be looking at is this right in the middle, meaning that Iran must stop and eliminate its nuclear enrichment and weaponization program. So they want
0%.
Exactly. That's the thing. And so this is going to be a problem. This is different. There's a difference between we want you to stop, trying to make a bomb versus we want you to stop all of it. And you can't make any weapons. You can't do any sort of enrichment activities at all. You got to shut these things down completely. That is directly from Bibi. That is the Bibi line.
Yes. Bibi even said to Congress last year in his address that he got over 50 applause and standing ovation breaks that Iran must not have a nuclear bomb. And yet, 10 years ago, they were nowhere as close to having a nuclear bomb as they are now.
Closer than ever. But what's the biggest thing that's changed in that time period is the post-October 7th world. And post-October 7th, you now are in a world where Hamas is decimated, an Islamic Republic of Iran proxy. The Houthis are really on the back foot. And Hezbollah is basically non-existent at this point. I think there was just recently an article where the U.S. and Lebanon and Europe, I think even, are all agreeing that the Lebanese army needs to be the premier army of Lebanon, not Hezbollah. Which is like, no shit, Sherlock. There's like 4 guys left in Hezbollah. Okay, so. The proxies, the axis of resistance that the Islamic Republic of Iran has depended on for so long, and plus Syria falling. Right. That's the other thing. Syria was a huge help for the Islamic Republic. So all of these places have now fallen. All of these things. So now Iran technically, while they are closer than ever before to having enough material to make a bomb, they are also weaker than they've ever been before. And so to me, that means you've now backed a very crazy regime that tortures people, that disappears its own people into a corner.
Right.
And so the plan that Trump said is if they don't do blah, 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 if they don't do it, then Israel's going to bomb them. Right. Now, let's just play this out, Travi.
Okay.
Let's play this out. Let's say Israel does drop bombs on their nuclear facilities.
Okay.
What does that do? That takes out those facilities. But does it stop Iran from committing human rights violations or stop them from trying to fund proxies? Or does it stop them even from rebuilding even deeper underground another nuclear facility? No.
Right.
It doesn't. Once you have the knowledge of how to do a thing, then you're going to be able to just do it again. So this doesn't, as much as I would love a perfect world where we could, in a binary way, just flip a switch, bomb the nuclear facilities, and the Iranian regime is like, oh, no, that's it, goodbye. And then they just leave town, and all of a sudden it's free Iran all over, and then I can go and vacation there because it's beautiful in Iran, and I would love to go. No, that's not what's going to happen.
It's not how it works.
And a ground invasion won't happen either. And this peacetime, no war president is about to threaten war all over again.
Yikes.
This was the rom-com section of the show.
Right, of course, yes. The Aladdin sequel.
This was Love Actually, Aladdin edition.
Right, exactly. But it does tap into what we talked about last week, too, that Bibi told Congress way back in 2002. He saw the three biggest threats to the world is Iraq, Libya, and now his third and final wish. His third wish.
Yep.
And like Aladdin with the lamp,
oh God,
he's about to get his third and final wish.
I don't know how I feel.
Ties together.
I don't know how I feel about this metaphor continuing in this way.
I'm just saying, Aladdin's a fantastic movie. You should give it a chance.
I should give it another chance. Kids, look at this Aladdin. You are half Japanese, half Persian, but don't worry, you will be 10x hairier than that Aladdin. All right. I think we covered this. I'm sweating. I'm so furious. This is going to be another mess. We're going to try to get some journalists on to talk about Iran that are focused on that part of the world. I've actually been talking to some people inside some government and government adjacent places that maybe they will come on if we hide their identity. I don't exactly know how to do that quite yet, but when I do, that'll happen. That'll be a super cool thing. Mm-hmm. Let's take a quick break, and when we come back, it's the JD Vance Corner, my favorite part of the show. This
Finally, some lighter. We've had a constitutional crisis. We've had a foreign policy crisis. The only good news is that I think those 4 guys left in Hezbollah, if there's a Home Depot in Lebanon, go hang out.
Go hang
out.
Put
on a Bulls hat, and then they'll kick you out of there.
Just don't get the autism support tattoo. Jeez.
No.
Yeah. All right. For Travis Irvine, I'm Sina Gazdevi. We'll be right back after this. Welcome back to the Forward Report. I'm Sina Gazdevi. Travis Irvine is here as our guest host again this week. What an amazing chance to have you here. Someone from such a regal institution like Columbia University.
Thank you. They didn't know that they let me in, and they tried to kick me out, but here I am. I got the hat to prove it.
You shall persevere. That's amazing. Travis, we've got some other news. I'd love for you to take us there. What have you got for us?
Well, obviously, we've covered a lot today, and I'm sure there'll be more to come next week. But we do like to follow up on a few things that we've talked about in the prior episodes in the last few weeks. So first of all, and I sent this to you and our team, this was an amazing moment because we've been dealing with the tariffs, right? And we had lots of fun puns. I'm feeling terrific. It's I feel right. It's a terrifiable out here. Yeah. But look, here's some light comedy that has also happened amidst all the tariffs. Yeah. And that is, unfortunately, it happened in the People's House, U.S. Congress, where a lot of comedy, as we know, some of the best comedy happens.
Best. Yeah.
But Trump's trade representative, a man named Jameson Greer, although it's spelled like Jamieson, I'm going to call him Jameson because, frankly, when I hear him talk and I think about tariffs, I'm going to need a couple of those, right?
Yeah.
Go Celtics. Go Celtics. But here's the thing. This guy is testifying in front of the House Ways and Means Committee, and he's literally testifying when Trump announced during this guy's testimony that he was pausing the tariffs on a lot of these nations for 90 days, which thankfully, and if, again, last few episodes, you've been Marcus and we've talked about how, where are the Democrats? They need more teeth. Corey's out there talking for 25 hours. That's great. But is anyone getting mad? And I have good news for our listeners who are waiting for a Democrat to get straight up mad as this stuff is happening in real time.
Right. And not vote for Israeli missiles right afterwards either.
Right, exactly. Nice. Or whatever it is. Representative Stephen Horsford out of Nevada, a Democrat from Nevada. This was his reaction when he is literally, again, talking to, in testimony, in Congress. I believe they're under oath. He's talking to Jamieson Greer, Trump's trade representative. And in real time, ladies and gentlemen, you get to see Trump pause the tariffs. You get to hear the trade representative pretend like he doesn't know about it, but maybe he does. We're going to find out. And you get to hear James Horsford, I think, speaking for all of the American people.
All right. I love this clip. Let's do it.
Are you aware that the tariffs have been paused?
I am, yes.
When were you made aware of that?
Well, I understood the decision was made a few minutes ago. It's
sitting here
under discussion.
Sitting here under discussion. So did you know that this was under discussion, and why did you not include that as part of your opening remarks?
So typically what I don't do is divulge the contents of my discussions with
What are the details of the pause?
Well, my understanding is that because so many countries have decided not to retaliate, we're going to have about 90 days.
No, excuse me? China increased their tariffs on the United States. Trump blinked.
What's the blink, sir?
What do you know about this pause? What are the details of it?
I feel like I want to say I'm sorry.
As I understand it, is that China continues to retaliate. Other countries didn't retaliate. The president 2 or 3 days ago said we wanted to negotiate with those countries.
McDonald Islands didn't retaliate.
Meetings. That's what we're doing.
What are the details? How long is the pause? How many days? How many weeks?
I understand it's 90 days. I haven't spoken to the president since I've been.
So the trade representative hasn't spoken to the president of the United States about a global reordering of trade.
Yes, I have. I've just been in the hearing with you.
But yet he announced it on a tweet. WTF? Who's in charge?
Why can't they just curse?
Well,
just
it's like Mark Maron's show. You can curse on the show, but the title,
sure,
the premiere piece of the entire thing can only be WTF.
Wow.
I know. That's what I'm saying. Kudos to Horsford. If you're living in Nevada and he's your congressman, give him a call and thank him for yelling 3 beautiful letters. Because that's what we're all thinking right now.
It's just unreal. The chaos that people, they don't get that if everyone in the world just thinks we're chaos, they're just going to go someplace that's stable. They're going to be like, well, at least the Chinese Communist Party is a stable communist party. And they're just like, well, we'll trade with them.
Sure.
They're stable. All people want is stability.
Trade with those penguin islands. The penguins aren't doing anything unstable. Literally, the glaciers are more stable right now than the United States. So go get your stability.
The tectonic plates that just had an earthquake in Southern California are more stable than our government right now. Oh, my God.
Very exciting.
Thank you for that clip. That was amazing.
Yes. And, of course, not to be outdone in terms of incompetent Trump administration officials, let's check in on our good friend JD Vance. We mentioned last week, which tied into everybody hates JD. Why me? Because you're JD. That's the new theme song.
I love it.
We covered again last week, tied into our A Block story there about the gentleman deported to El Salvador. JD, of course, was also saying, despite being a Yale-educated lawyer, that this guy was confirmed MS-13, right? We covered that last week. We covered a whole cornucopia of things that people are mad about JD Vance about, including going back to his hometown, because Doge is trying to cut $500 million of investments going into his hometown, and the city council people are like, hey, why are you letting him do this? This is your hometown. We can use that money. And JD Vance is not a peep. So surely he must love his home area. And that includes, unfortunately, where I am joining you from right now. That is Ohio. We have at least one good football team here in Ohio. It's not the Browns. It's not the Bengals.
Yeah,
it is the Ohio State Buckeyes. Yeah. They just won the championship. They won the championship on January 20th this year, the day J.D. Vance was inaugurated as vice president. It was a big day for him.
They did that for him.
They did that for him, clearly. Yeah. And so the Ohio State Buckeye football team, as champions, get their ceremonial moment at the White House, which they received this past week. And I'm sure everyone has seen this clip. But let's just, for the sake of having a moment on this show that we can actually celebrate. This is a beautiful moment where J.D. Vance, an Ohio State University grad, is given a chance standing there with a lot of real manly men to handle this trophy. Let's take a look.
What's he doing? He's having trouble. Oh, it's down. It's down.
Trophy down. Turns out JD stands for just dropping.
Fumble.
How do you do on the play? Look at this.
I don't want to defend JD, but why was the top and the bottom?
They're known to not be together.
Oh,
and every football player with their CTE brains knows to not handle it that way. I'd like to think this is a preview of when Trump finally hands the MAGA movement to JD and he's 2028.
The brain and the body aren't connected. That's incredible. I didn't know that. It was not connected. By the way, you know what that also is? Bad producing. Because his lead person should have absolutely given him a heads up. Hey, top and bottom, not connected. Make sure you just hold it from the bottom or whatever. You just hold it. You got to know how to hold it.
Or just don't touch it. Do not meddle where you don't know how to handle the metal.
Well, get ready for another 3 years and 200 days, 265 days of this stuff.
Sure, it won't get any worse than that.
Oh my God, we're almost at 100 days. Almost. Oh my God, man.
It hasn't even been.
We should do something special for 100 days.
Good old Bulls game?
Yeah, good old Bulls. Let's just wear Bulls hats. I was looking for the hoodie online, and I couldn't find it. I don't know if there's an MS-13 store, like an Etsy shop that I could go to.
It's right next to the North Korea Amazon that you were talking about earlier. They're like right next to each other.
Oh, man. Well, amazing show, Travis. I want to remind people, hey, if you like the show, subscribe to our new YouTube channel. Rate us on Apple Podcasts. Send us a comment on Spotify. Send us a voice note email to our theforeignreportlpn@gmail.com. Follow us on all the socials. The links are in the episode description. We'll also put the undo list link in the episode description. I think I got the link finally, so sorry about that. We were late on that last week. We really want to keep this. We want to build a community. We want people to learn about stuff. Stay tuned for more stuff. Maybe we'll have some live streams. Maybe we'll have some more ways for us all to be able to get together and talk about what's happening around the world. Travis, go ahead.
Yes, we are the #1 geopolitical inclusive podcast in the Manosphere. Join us. And I'm excited to say that my sister, she gave us 5 stars in her podcast app. My sisters join us here in the Manosphere.
Wow.
So here we go.
Are we allowing your sister in the Manosphere? We're inclusive.
Everyone's allowed in our Manosphere.
Boom, boom.
Look at this.
There we go.
Just make sure you bring your guns, folks.
Oh, yeah.
Spring break.
I'm Sina Gazanovic for Travis Irvine. This has been the Foreign Report. Thanks, everyone. We'll see you next time.